United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for being here tonight. Troy, you have an update for us, I guess.
Man, right off the top.
Right off the bat.
Said so. All right. So this is an overall project update, primarily construction. Jacob Lingo sitting right over there if I screw this up, but he can jump. Well, you don't have to screw it up if you don't want. So the idea is just to give you a little bit of a snapshot of an update of the project that's going on out at the athletic complex. So starting with the schedule, hopefully you can see that a little bit. Red line indicates where we're at right now. So we're about a third of the way through construction for this summer. There's I think you guys are aware, but the change in not doing the bleachers, the new bleachers, kind of essentially that's what the gold represents here. So it takes away a lot of these, we've kind of crossed through those. But the intent right now is to kind of continue on the schedule that is above that, which is all in purple. Just a few updates that Jacob talked with me about earlier today. Next week, the week of, or I guess it's next week, yeah, 2 weeks. 2 weeks from 2 Mondays away. Week of July 7th, they'll be beginning to set the asphalt, pour the asphalt around the track. So I've got some pictures I'll show you. I was out there today before the rain, and it's looking really good. We're excited about it, but the asphalt is coming in a couple of weeks. There's a 30 to 45 day window that asphalt needs to cure before they begin to put the track surface on. In addition to that, the week of July 14th, it's not on here, but just some notes. July 14th, they'll be pouring the additional concrete on the home side of the bleachers on the west side, so that when they move the bleachers over there later this summer, the concrete will be set up and ready to go. And it's not just bleachers, we're moving the press box as well. I think that was hopefully communicated to this group. So then July 21st, the week of July 21st, they'll start that bleacher move and the press box move. I think you said it was going to take possibly a couple of weeks to get all that set. They've got new foundations that have to be poured for the press box and so forth. And then
can I clarify that move?
Yes.
Because I know at one point we were talking about moving bleachers across the field.
That's
this
right.
is just talking about shifting the bleachers down to center on the football field.
To the west. So yeah, when the school decided that they were going to utilize SNU's field for soccer and I think some varsity sports, they decided not to do the full-blown new bleachers on the home side and then relocate the existing bleachers on the visitor side. So instead of doing that, we're basically utilizing the existing bleachers but shifting them to the west. I think it's 35 feet to recenter everything on the new 50-yard line, on the new center of the track. So the press box, the bleachers, the track, and the field will all be centered up with each other. Week of August 8th, so that's in about 6 weeks or so, they'll finish the bleacher move in the press box, and then around mid-August is when they'll start their track. That'll be after that 30 to 45 day window for the asphalt. They'll start their track resurfacing on top of the asphalt. Right now, the goal is sometime between the 15th and the 29th to be complete, hopefully closer to 15th, but just to give you guys a little bit of a anticipated window right there. I'm saying August 29th. It is, from what I understand, before the football season starts. It's after school starts, but before football season starts. So we're trying to get that work done for the bleachers and everything set up by then.
Part of the reason for that variability is that asphalt has to cure once we'll test it for a certain amount of emissions that come off of it. Once that gets below a certain level, then we can put that track surface on top. So there's a window there. That's not exact science as far as a hard date.
And then just a few photos from today. So this is actually out at the pole vault long jump area, just kind of on the southeastern corner, of the softball field over there, looking back toward the southwest, I guess. There's the pole vault box right there for the pit. And so just a handful of photographs there. The guys were there setting formwork. The new landing pit for the sand for the long jump is being set. Formwork's being set for new concrete curves that'll be in that area. And then This is looking back to the west toward the practice facility, turn 3, and then I'll flip back around here in just a second, and now we're headed toward the east on this side. So the inside curb has been set, the outside curb has been set, and of course all the existing surface and asphalt down to a certain, I think it's 4 inches, I think is what you guys milled down to, has been removed. And then just continuing around, that's turn 4 with the straightaway, and then looking straight down that straightaway line to the west. Fence line, new fence line that's going to be coming in. Got the poles started to set. There's prep work and form work and sub base for the new sidewalk that'll be spanning along that fence line. And then moving a little further to the west along the straightaway. And then as we get around just past turn 1, this is the high jump area on the west end of the field. And then again, that same sidewalk we were talking about there continues all the way around on the west end over near the SNU fence, kind of transition line between SNU and BPS athletic fields. And then continuing on around, there's going to be a little transition area there that'll allow the mowers to come out of the maintenance facilities and up and over without having to jump over curbs. And then on around, that's turn 2, headed back to the east. There's some additional concrete that was poured to allow for connection of the practice facility. And then this slab, that was for the anticipated bleacher relocation on that side. We decided to go ahead and do that pour with the anticipated, just thinking of future planning, if we ended up either doing something where we would add new bleachers and moving that existing bleacher, or if you wanted to buy new bleachers for that side, big or small, but that's set up essentially for the same size of bleachers that are over on the home side. There's a new flag pole that's going to sit over on that eastern side of that concrete. And then just kind of looking back at the field there. So that's maybe it. Yeah, so that's an update from a photograph standpoint. I mean, I think everybody feels pretty good about where they're at. As a part of your packet, there's a change order that we want to make sure we get reviewed and hopefully approved this evening. Don't think there's any issues or questions about it. I want to make sure everybody understands what we're doing. That's too hard to read, so but I think you have a copy in your packet there. We'll get to the overall project budget. So just a quick snapshot. I'll go over the highlights, and then you guys can ask questions if you need to. But when Lingo first started laying out the track, we made some decisions after meeting out there with staff, with BPS staff, and with the construction contracting crew and the track company, to change the width of the track, the overall width of the track. So from inside to outside, we did a couple of things. We added 4 inches of kind of buffer, if you will, between the first line and the curb on the inside, and another 4 inches of buffer between the outside line and the concrete curb. And then we also widened each lane by 1 inch, so that's 6 inches. So 6 plus 8 is 14. So we widened the overall track surface. So that increased cost of asphalt and also track surface itself. So that's a couple of the numbers that are made up within that total.
Can I add a little piece to that?
Yes, please.
So the way it was previously, that the white line that runners would be running on that inside lane was right next to the curb. So if they misstepped, they were going to step on the curb itself. So that's not, not the best thing. I mean, shouldn't, but a lot of those inside runners are going to be running as close to the inside as they can. So we wanted to widen that, and then also the lane themselves, the width of our current lanes, which was what it was specified to, is just the width of the hurdles, which means the hurdles are basically butted right up against each other. The risk of that is if one goes down, it could knock another one out of place. So for both of those reasons, it was thought, while we're here, while we're doing this, doing it right, let's do it right. So.
And there was also some variability from lane to lane. There was I think it varied from 39 to 41, 39 to 41 inches, even just, and depending on where you were on the track and which lane you were in. So there was a lot of variability. So just to try to even it all out, provide the buffer on either side, we widened the track by 14 inches. one of the things we did in that, there's some pluses and minuses in that number. So those are a couple of pluses that I just mentioned. The minuses, we were able, the reduction in the cost, we were able to reduce the 20 inches of concrete that was on the outside down to 16 because we added the 4 inches to the track, and so we took the 4 inches out of the concrete. So there's a reduction in that number there of $1,025. Anyway, so that's just a summary of that particular change. The net of those 5 numbers, 5 numbers there is $15,775. In addition, when we were walking through some of the, just as we've been out on the job site talking, there was a conversation of trying to go ahead and update the pole vault, like we mentioned, I pointed that out, the little pole vault pit right there, pole vault, what do you call it? The jump box, excuse me. The jump box where the pole goes down into the little pit area, to replace that with a new one. And then also the long jump board for the other running lane to replace that long jump board as well. So we've got new equipment, accessories if you will, that are coming in on that, as opposed to trying to just salvage what we had and reuse what we had. And then the bleacher and press box movement is the largest number there. That's $27,898. That number was originally, that same number was originally included when we were conceptually talking about relocating the bleacher to the visitor side. When we decided to, when we started considering doing new bleachers and talking through that from a timing standpoint, we decided as a group we needed to pull that number out and hold it that way when we rebid all the bleacher work, it would all be a part of that same contract. Then the decision was made shortly after that to not do the home bleachers, so that number, that $27,898 had been already pulled out of their contract, so now we're having to put it back in. Just a little more explanation maybe if you're interested. That number, that same number, was anticipated to get the bleachers across the field, so there's more time and expense and effort and to try to get the bleachers either, I don't know, were you gonna go around the track or go through the field? Around the track. That did not include the press box at the time. And so now, when we're talking about just shifting the bleachers to the west, we are including the press box. So the intent is to try to utilize that same fee, that same dollar amount to move the existing bleachers, including the press box this time, even though it's only moving 35 feet. So we're hoping that we can accomplish all of that work with that same dollar amount. So all of that totaled up to that $53,598.95 on there. And I've got a signed change order I can leave here at the desk for you guys to review. Are there any questions related to the change order? So looking at the overall project, because that's one number within this, so just to keep everybody up to speed on where we're at, because we are no longer doing the bleacher, including the new bleachers in the project, part of our scope and our fee was to be a part of that, not just design, which we had already done and part of the bidding, but we are part of that through construction as well by reviewing submittals and being a part of the observations and installation inspection. So we're reducing our fee to take that out since we're not, that's not included in the project a little bit. So there's a $5,000 savings there. And then we anticipated we might have an electrical engineer involved and to deal with things like the press box relocation, which we're not having to have them involved for that. Also, I think we were talking about electrical work related to the scoreboard over on the softball field. We weren't sure if we were going to have to move at the time. And then also dealing with the concession stand that's also been taken out. So that we did not have to get them involved. We had a $7,500 fee set up for them at one point, so we've removed that out of that budget as well. So there's some savings there. So we've got a couple of numbers going down. We've got the bigger number for the change order going up. And then we also had a little bit of I think about a $3,200 savings there in construction materials testing. So that number is budgeted a little high on that, so that number's been reduced. And then we're looking at overall numbers right there. We had an owner's contingency set aside of about $30,000. Because the change order is in that $50,000 range, we've actually just zeroed out that contingency now to help kind of soften that a little bit, soften that blow for that change. We are expecting some additional changes that'll be coming, I assume maybe next month when we come to, I don't know if it'll be, you guys have a meeting in early July, right?
August.
August, okay,
August
so it'll
12th,
be
yeah.
in the August. We may need to, well, depends on how comfortable you guys are moving forward with an officially unsigned change order, but we are adding field goals to the football field, new field goals. So we've got fees or costs associated with that they'll have. We can distribute that, and if we need to do an email ballot or something, I'm assuming you guys might be able to do something like that if we had to.
When you get us that cost, I'll just communicate with the board what it is, and
Okay.
we can talk about how we wanna go forward, if we wanna have a special board meeting, or if there's
Okay.
another option, so.
Okay, just so that they're not having to wait until
Right.
the second week of August when they're almost done to be official. You guys are probably okay either way, but in case there are questions, we don't want to assume.
Yep.
And then even just today, we made a few adjustments in the pole vault area to add some asphalt for the additional padding that's being, that I think Adam is anticipating installing. You guys are getting some additional new padding.
Yeah.
So there'll be a little bit of cost associated with that. And there's just a couple other little minor things, but I think just talking to Jacob, I don't want to speak for you necessarily, but I think the conversation he and I had today was that they think they can absorb at least some of those in their contingency, so we may not be looking at a total change order when the time comes.
Yeah, so we are, with the bleacher movement, that is something that has some variability to it, just depending on how it moves. It's a big structure, but it's how it moves. Our plan and how we always work with you guys is it's cost. If we can do that for cheaper, then we'll be able to help offset some of those things.
Good, thank you.
Push those savings around. But
Yep.
Yep.
I think that might be it, yeah. Any questions that you have of us this evening?
I have a question. So we're not going to put any bleachers on that pad?
So we've looked at, so right now within all this, that's not in the plans, but we have looked, I've talked to Mr. Martineau about what we can put over there. Initially, I'd even looked at just, kind of like you have with baseball and softball. Mr. Martineau had a good point, which is you probably want those to be elevated, because I was just thinking the standard bleachers, 5 rows, but you probably need those to be elevated because you'll have players on the side. So that's something we're looking at, but it's just not part of this.
Okay.
But we are looking at the bleachers I looked at one point were anywhere from about $9,000 for like 5 rows. But he had a great point, so we'll have to kind of reevaluate that.
Yeah.
But that would just be kind of
Okay.
another option thing that we could look at.
Okay, good.
Any other questions? Sure.
Appreciate the information.
Thanks, Troy.
Great.
Thanks for the update.
Thank you. I'll leave this with you.
Item 4, discussion of possible action on the athletics track change order number 1 from Lingo in the amount of $53,598.95.
Motion to approve the athletics track change order number 1 from Lingo. Change order 1 includes the following improvements for an incremental cost of $53,598.95.
Second.
Second. Roll call vote.
Palmer,
Yes.
Yates,
Yes.
Pettit,
Yes.
Wallstad.
Yes. Item number 5, discussion of possible action to approve the following contracts agreements for fiscal year 26. United Systems yearly renewals for FileWare, WatchGuard, Dell, and VMware. Form approvals renewal, Follett, software renewal, Ability Physical Therapy contract, Genesis Technologies, Inc., renewal for Microsoft 365 for teacher use, and Adobe Creative Suite for teachers and students. Item F, United Systems renewals for Linwise Internet Filter and United Systems Management Service contract. Item G, ClassLink renewal. Item H, Muni Services LLC. Item I, YMCA bus rental agreement. Item J, Bethany Family Life Center agreement. Item K, Land Care Management agreement. Item L, Land Care It's athletic grounds maintenance. Item M, wallboard renewal. Item N, BFC Floyd Center contracts. Item O, volunteer coaching contract. Item P, J. Jasper's consulting contract. And item Q, Lingo construction management agreement.
So a lot of these are standard renewals, but there's two I'll point out. One is the land care athletics ground maintenance. That piece is new throughout the year, so we're still having coaches manage that during the summer. But as the year rolls and people start getting into their sports and get a little bit busier with time, we're gonna have someone come in and do that grounds around the athletic facilities during the year. That won't include the fields, though. Coaches will still take care of their fields as they usually prefer to do. And then the J. Jasper consulting contract is the contract that we're appreciative. Dr. Jasper's agreeing to kind of have transition time there for 2 months and then hourly after that. So we're very appreciative of her willingness to do that. I know Mr. Jasper is also appreciative of that as well. So.
Any questions?
Clarification on the fact that this isn't under the consent.
We are adding a motion right now. Somehow it got pulled out of the consent agenda, so we will have to
So we-
vote on it
well, I
separately.
thought so, but
Yes.
I was just
Sorry, we
sure.
were moving stuff around too much. I apologize.
I have a question on the ClassLink
Excellent.
W-9. Do we have a contract for them, or why do we need to approve a W-9? I was confused
It's
on
probably
that.
named wrong.
Which one?
The ClassLink one.
I think it's just the I think it's just the invoice.
It's just a W-9.
It was attached with something above it, and I just loaded it onto there.
Okay, I guess I don't have it.
What's the expiration of the ClassLink? Curious.
Mr. Forrester, do you know?
Yeah, it's the,
Fiscal?
the invoice is due on the 31st of July, but I could probably get them to, extend it if we need to do it next meeting. It's fine.
Do we have a copy of it that you can email? I haven't
I-
seen it. It's not come to me. I can drop it in real quick.
Okay.
Somebody can email it to
I'll
me.
do it right now.
Sorry, I thought it was attached.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Landscape, they're a new vendor, correct, for us? Or
They
remind
were
me.
this last year.
It's new at the athletic facilities.
It's new at the athletic facilities, yes.
Okay.
But it's the same company
Same
currently
company,
doing
yeah.
our school
Right.
site, yeah.
Any other questions other than ClassLink as we look for it?
Are we waiting to see the contract?
It just came to me. I'm fixing to
Okay.
drop it in for you.
Great, thank you.
And it's actually not a contract, it's an invoice, and it will be approved as an encumbrance. So I think we just got our wires crossed or something.
Okay.
It should not have been in contracts. It's not a contract, it's an invoice, and there will be an encumbrance for it.
Awesome. So we just delete that
I
out?
knew I hadn't seen anything. I knew I hadn't seen anything, so,
Okay.
okay.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So are you just?
It's dropped in there now. I've
It's
saved
at
it,
the
so
bottom.
you can see it. It's at the bottom.
But
You
are
can-
we
you-
approving it in
you
this
can go
motion?
ahead. Yeah, since I went ahead and added it, you can go ahead and approve it. It'll be okay.
I make a motion to approve the mentioned contracts for the 25-26 school year.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Palmer?
Yes.
Wallstad?
Yes.
Yates?
Yes.
Pettit? Sorry,
Yes.
I got out of order. Pettit? And then Wallstad, sorry.
Yes.
Sorry.
All right, item 6, the consent agenda. Following items which Concerned reports and items of routine nature normally approved at board meetings will be approved by one vote unless any board member desires to have a separate vote on any of them or all of them.
Anybody have questions on the trips before I start on all this financial stuff? Okay. On the first one, I'm gonna talk more than I normally do, cause we've got quite a bit. So the first file that you have is the fundraiser requests and renewals. So we are renewing the activity fund accounts. Every year they have to do new fundraiser request forms, and those have been attached. And so in order for, if we collect money for anything, if we collect money for a camp, or we collect money because we're selling candy bars, they have to have a fundraiser request form. They also have to list what expenses they're gonna have with the funds that come in. So all of those renewals and requests are in there. The next file is the activity fund account changes. So we've gone through and we had several accounts that I'm going to talk to you about each one individually that have not been used. Some of them have not been used in 3 years or more, and we're going to close them out. Some of them they want to operate a little bit differently, and so they're doing a request to change how they're going to operate. So the first one is Builders Club. So Builders Club, there are several of these little clubs. There's also one that Aaron Wright does at the elementary, that they would do a fundraiser and they wanted it to go towards the Cancer Fund Drive or SWAT Week. And so they did a fundraiser out of their own account, and then they put the money in their account, and then they would transfer it to Cancer Fund Drive. So what they have decided is that they do not want to do all that moving around. We put the fundraiser request under Cancer Fund Drive, and they're going to do the fundraiser. Like National Honor Society will do the fundraiser, but Cancer Fund Drive will just go ahead and deposit the money into their account instead of doing this big roundabout thing. So that's the first change with Builders Club. The second one is the PE clubs and camps sub-account. It's the same situation where they were doing a fundraiser and putting it in their account, and then it was immediately getting moved to the Cancer Fund Drive account. So we're just going to go ahead and take that money, and we're going to put it in CFD, and when they do their fundraiser, the fundraiser request will be from CFD, and the money will all go to CFD, or Cancer Fund Drive. The next thing that we had was there are several different accounts for special services. So there was a Children's Center Fund account that had $42.99.21 in it. There was a Student Resources for Low-Income Students that has $7,600 in it. There was a Sped Life Skills that had $114 in it. And then we had another Special Services account, 952, with some money in it. So we're going to take all of those, and there had been no activity in any of those for several years. So we're going to take all of them and combine them into one for one purpose, or we're going to combine them all into one for those purposes. It's one and they function for all of those purposes. So we don't have all these different accounts that are serving special services. Then the next one is we are going to add, Krista McCann would like to add a hospitality account at the high school for the purposes of, you know, social activities and things like that, retirement, baby showers. They want to be able to purchase some things. Then she's also adding a Partners in Education where she would like to sell businesses a district level membership and have this account where they can purchase things for different things going on around school. The next one that you see in the list is Krista McCann had some sub-accounts in the Key Club account. At one point she was going to do a Veterans Day thing, and they did not end up doing that. And then they also had a charitable donations account, and the $135.10 has been sitting there for several years and have not been used. So we're going to close the sub-accounts for Key Club and just have the main Key Club account. Spanish Club had $166.42 in it. It's gonna be moved to the high school account. It has had no activity. It's not serving the purpose that it originally was created for. And then there was also a high school leadership that had $54.01. It's just been sitting there for years. It's going to be moved to the high school fund because obviously it's serving no purpose at this point in time. There was an auditorium fund with $101.80, and it's going to also be moved to the high school fund account to just kind of combine all that and not have all these accounts sitting there that are not being utilized. And that way the money can be used for our students. Any questions on any of those?
Thank you for getting that.
Okay, yeah.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
How many funds do we have?
We have,
Because it says there's 321 pages of funds. Is that true?
fundraiser requests. Are you in the first document?
Yes.
Those are all fundraiser requests. We have over 300 fundraiser requests that our activities are going to do, but not that many accounts.
Okay.
I don't
was
know
like,
exactly how
oh
many
my
it is, but
goodness.
this is the number of accounts that we
Oh,
have.
okay. That makes
It's
more
all
sense.
on one page, but it's a lot of different fundraisers for
Okay.
each account.
All right. Gotcha.
Okay, the next one, I am asking, so everybody took me literally this year, so every year, and Bethany does it a little different than I've seen before. So there's an activity account for child nutrition. And when Miss Rigdon collects money from the cafeteria every day, it comes and it's deposited into that activity account. And at the beginning of the year, they have a $400 cash box to get her started to be able to make change for that money that she gets. At the end of the year, most districts transfer everything, 100% of that account to the general fund. That's what you're supposed to do because the general fund is paying for Sodexo's bill. Bethany Public Schools in the past has left that $400 cash box in there to get the year started up. And Gretchen took me literally and she took it all out. And so the cash box is not in there. So we're going to move $400 from our district activity account and put in there for the startup cash for the child nutrition account next year, which we get interest on the activity account. So that interest money can be used to do that with no problem. So that's what that request is. It's different than what you normally see. But we do have to have that in order to balance with OCAS. We don't really have a choice. so just so you know. Any more questions for me on that? Okay. The way we are doing this, I have an hourly extra duty sheet so we can stay straight on what we're paying for hourly extra duties. And so we can stay pretty similar across the board. The first time we did this was last year, and so we've added a couple things, but just want to get that approved for the next year, the hourly rates for the different extra duties. Every year, so whatever money's left for class of 2025, it will be transferred to the high school activity account. We do that every year. Whatever money's left goes to the high school activity account. And then we have the financial fund reports. So currently, obviously I did these on Tuesday to get them in there as quickly as possible for you to begin looking at. So we paid bills yesterday, today. I did see when I came down here that we had some revenue come in from the county that we will post on Monday. So these are not going to be completely finished, but they're as finished as they could possibly be at the point in time. So currently we had an ending balance in the activity fund of $675,000. I do expect this to increase and go up, but it's good. The next thing after that, our activity accounts are in good shape overall. We have our function summary report, and we are looking at expenses of $18,882,000, and we have the balance of $673 left to encumber if we needed to, but we're obviously not going to. We have $818,000 encumbered. If you remember, our original budget, I believe, was 19.5 million. I had come back and asked you guys to do an amendment up to the 20.3 million. We're ending up, we were very, very close to our original budget of 19.5. It's going to end up being like 19.7 in expenses when it's all said and done. So we were very close to our original budget. We just needed to increase it so we could keep encumbering all the things that we had and get everything in the codes. So in Fund 21, we have 340,000 left. So it's got the Lingo construction project. It's got part of it. I encumbered part of it in this fiscal year, and then the rest will be encumbered in the new fiscal year. So we were on budget there. And then when we get to the tracking sheet, which is kind of the big one for us, I want to pull up one thing and tell you guys. We over collected in ad valorem. We over collected in pretty much everything. We didn't have as many general fund refunds as we thought, but that's okay. I did want to say that last year at this point in time, we had a collection of $130,000 in interest earnings, and this year we had $242,000. So we did really good with our CDs and things like that. Definitely a major over collection there to compensate for where we didn't collect everything that we wanted to. We did have an adjustment in state aid, a couple $1,000s. The state came out with a new allocation sheet and adjusted it down a couple $1,000s, but we've gotten everything that they said that we were supposed to get. We over collected in flex benefit allowance. And then as we go to federal, the federal page, we have collected everything that we are going to collect in this fiscal year. We did not collect everything that I would have liked to collect for 511, 518, and Title II, but it's okay. We did the best we could with our claims person, and that's pretty good, and we're going to collect it in the next fiscal year. So even though it's not showing up on this fiscal year, it's going to show up in the next fiscal year. So we're all right. Also didn't collect as much as we would have liked in child nutrition, but that's okay. The final numbers, so we brought in, down at the bottom, we've got a grand total revenue of 18 million. That's got that $6 million figure underneath the 18 million was our carryover from last year. We have a grand total balance of 24 million. Our expenditures right now are 18.8. We also have some of the stuff that's left encumbered. Looking at a cash balance of 5.2 million. We brought in lapsed appropriations. This means we had some encumbrances last fiscal year that we didn't end up paying out on, which was $36,000. For reference, my first year when I came here, we had a lapsed appropriation of $700,000 or $800,000, which means we had POs still encumbered that were not closed out, and it came into the fiscal year. So we've improved greatly. And we're trying to run an operation where we only have encumbered what we're actually going to spend. Mm-hmm. We have some e-stopped warrants. This means they're checks that never were cashed. You know, business might have gone out of business or something like that. We have about 942 encumbered to be paid. And then we've got projected fund balance of 4.288. So we did really well here. I do want to point out that you saw at the top our fund balance was 6 million, so our carryover was 6 million last year. We have a carryover of 4.2 million, so obviously we're coming down from COVID collections. We're not getting the ESSER funding anymore. I do project that our fund balance will, if we keep everything the same and we maintain, it's going to probably be looking at a carryover of like 3.8. 3.7 next year, so steadily going down a little bit, and then it eventually levels off as we get used to where we're at with all that federal funds not coming in. So we're trying to slowly bring that down and not have to make some major changes. I also attached for you underneath that, I just want you guys to feel comfortable as possible. Underneath that file with the regular financials, the Bethany carryover penalty calculator. So with what we've brought in revenue and with what our expenses are, if we have a carryover of 4.288, you see that negative 73,000, that means we're in the green by $73,000. Like we missed a penalty by $73,000 and we do not have a penalty on our carryover.
Okay, good.
Which is good.
So there's
and
no penalty.
we have no penalty. And let me explain the penalty. So you have to have a penalty 2 years in a row for it to be assessed. We have not had a penalty since I've been here. So if there was one this year, we would just have to make sure we didn't have one next year or it would be assessed. But we are not going to have a penalty if all the numbers fall where I think they're going to fall. And we have room. We have room. We should not have a penalty this year. So.
I'm gonna add to that, she won't brag on herself, but to be within 73,000 of 4.288 million, I mean, Dr. Jasper's done a great job of getting actually to a better number. We had originally thought that number might be a little bit lower than 4.288. So she, just did a great job of spending to a perfect place, I would say, or as perfect as you can get, without being in a penalty. So, that was not easy. It's very strategic, and she did a great job with it, so thank you.
Yeah. I wanted my goal was, I appreciate that, my goal was for you guys to be able to carry over as much as you possibly could without having a penalty to set you up for the next year. So we've watched it very closely. And I think that's all I've got. Any questions for me?
That's great. Thank you very
Good
much
work.
for your
Yeah,
work.
that's great.
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Palmer,
Yes.
Yates,
Yes.
Pettit,
Yes.
Wallstad.
Yes. Item 7, approve the fiscal year 25 encumbrances for the general fund non-payroll, item number 769-778, the amount of $344,261.04. Change orders for the general fund of $73,312.29. The general fund payroll account 70000-70846 in the amount of $13,634,629.91, and the change orders for the building fund $18,315.28.
So there are some regular general things that you see on there, but then there are some of our big ticket purchases that we're gonna make this year that go with our replacement schedules. And so the first one that you're gonna see is the 773 for $84,000. We have a 2006 Ford F-150 pickup that's from 2006, and that's gonna be one of the replacements on that. We have a 2008 Chevrolet Impala that Mr. Holcomb is driving around. It's a 2008. It's way past its expiration date. So there are 2 Ford F-150s on this PO that are coming from Kansas that have, I think they're supposed to have between 30 and 40,000 miles on them, and they're going to be 2023s. And they'll have the lights and everything. So one is for maintenance. One of the F-150s is for maintenance. They'll have the lights when they're doing the crossing guard, and then one is for Mr. Holcomb. To replace those vehicles. The next big one is going to be 775. We have we have 2 buses in the red, what I would say need to be replaced right now. We have a 2012 and a 2013. We're going to replace the 2012 Bluebird with we have found a 2021 Bluebird with low miles to replace that with. And then, as you all know, because you have children that ride on the people movers, we have a 2008 people mover, and we have found it's not brand new, but one with significantly low miles and significantly newer that we're going to be purchasing from American Bus Sales. And then we have desks from the 90s. So on 776 and 778, we're doing some more desk replacement. And then we are going to 777 is the pole vault mats for the new track.
Just out of curiosity, how many desks does $21,000 buy?
So for reference, 776 21662, that'll do a whole grade level in elementary, so it's going to be about 125 to 130 desks.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. And then it's a little different with high school because they sometimes get tables and chairs, but the best reference I can get is the elementary.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's helpful. Thank you.
So as we look at 777 with the pole vault mats, what do we currently have out there?
We have some older ones. They were probably purchased around 2009 or 10, but they've kind of run their. We didn't have a real good place to put them, so they sat out a few years, and they kind of have just kind of their landing area is pretty. You know, when you land on them, they smush down, so they're just not real safe anymore. So.
With the new the work that we're doing out there, will we
Yes.
have a way to secure these or to protect them from the elements? I guess
So
that probably
we
has
we bought a bigger container,
Okay.
like a 40-foot storage container out there, and that's where we put them currently. That's where they are currently, the old ones.
Okay.
So we'll move those out and put the new ones in there, and then we'll store them in there until the spring comes. So
Okay.
they're really now they're really only out for about maybe two months, a little over 2 months. So
Yeah.
they're protected the rest of the time. So.
Great, thank you.
How long
Yeah.
should those last?
These are some of the better ones out there. So they have a 13-year warranty, but they say you can get upwards. I mean, if you take care of them, then they can get 15 to 20 years out of them. So yeah,
Let's take care of it.
yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
And then the rest of the change orders are just regular change orders.
Sodexo seems to be one of the highest ones. What drives that? I guess just kind of curious.
Oh, actually, they aren't a change. So we're over encumbered on that PO, and I was needing to bring some of that money back in so that we could spend it on other things. So I closed the line out, and then I reopened a new line for what we still owed. So it's showing up as a change, but we already had it encumbered originally anyway, because of the way I did that to get some of the money moved back into our budget that we weren't going to spend on that line. If that makes sense.
Thank you.
Okay. Motion to approve the encumbrances as presented.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Palmer,
Yes.
Yates,
Yes.
Pettit,
Yes.
Wallstad.
Yes. Item 8, approve the fiscal year encumbrances for the general fund non-payroll. Item 1-158 for $3,271,722.53. The building fund non-payroll, item 1 through 4, $660,663. Fund balance number 1 through 2 for $602,320,000. And sinking fund item 1, $921,012.50.
Okay, so the last POs that you did were this fiscal year. We have already rolled to the new fiscal year, and we have gotten all of our blankets for like our utilities and stuff like that, and people have already started putting in requisitions for things they're going to need to start up school. So that's what this list is. They're the typical encumbrances that we usually start the year with some materials for instructional staff at the end. One of the ones that you're going to see is Oklahoma Building Services. So I rolled this way back in April because I was trying to prepare. And we also don't have the new company entered in as a vendor yet. So this is a placeholder for how much money we will eventually switch that over to the new vendor. So no concerns there.
Motion to approve the encumbrances as presented.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Palmer,
Yes.
Yates,
Yes.
Pettit,
Yes.
Wallstad.
Yes. Item number 9, discussion of possible action on a one-time $600 retention stipend for all regular, certified, and support staff returning for the 2025-26 school year to be paid in July from the general fund.
So on this, we gave a stipend last year. It was $350. It was my goal to kind of do it to where we could get to 600. I feel like 600 is a good amount. We obviously put it in there as a one-time retention because at some point we may not have the budget to be able to do it. But I think it's a good way to honor our people who are coming back when we can do it, and it's something that impacts our entire staff, and our entire staff benefits instead of just one single group or one single person. I will say you probably noticed a difference in the left encumbrances between the tracking sheet and the function summary report. On the tracking sheet, I had this encumbered, this stipend encumbered, but on the function summary report, when I ran it, when I was initially getting ready for the board, it was not in there. So that's why the amounts are different. It's really about the 900,000 amount. Anyways, that's the idea behind this, is when we can, we would like to be able to honor our staff. This does not include lay coaches. It's really our regular teaching assistants, our teachers, our administrators.
Motion to approve.
No, I was just, if you had anything to...
Well, I would say, we do have a lot of times where we look at, the value of what people are doing, and we had seen some instances where, people were kind of advocating for individualized type things, and we've really tried to emphasize with the entire staff, our goal is to try to take care of everybody equally, and we are at a time now also where it is very competitive out there, and it just continues to be. And I will speak for the administrators, the principals in particular, but when we're looking to recruit people, a lot of times when we compare ourselves to 4A, we're great when it comes to salary schedule. But unfortunately in our area, we're not always competing against 4A people. And so we do fall a little bit lower than some that people are making. And the one thing that we can oftentimes go to is the stipends that we're able to offer throughout the year. And so I think little things like this that kind of come as a surprise, especially this one in particular, that comes as a surprise, I think goes a long way in kind of sharing some of those values with them, that we do value that they're here, we value that they're staying, we value that they want to be here, and so I think it's a great way to be able to keep people, recruit people, and I think obviously we often feel we're probably not able to pay people on an hourly rate of what they're actually doing, the work they're doing, and so this coming in a summertime where people see it as kind of a little bonus, I think is a good thing for us.
Yeah, that's great. I do want to add also, it is hard for us because we're surrounded by a bunch of 6A districts, but we did do an analysis and we are one of the top paying 4A districts with everybody. I think we are the top paying 4A district with everybody that we compete with. So we do as well as we can possibly do. With our state aid is based on the number of students that we have, and unfortunately, we're a smaller district and we're around a bunch of larger districts that get more funding. So.
And one more thing I would say is, if you're looking at all the investments that you're making, there's one investment that is the most important, and that's the staff that we have in front of kids, and so this is part of that too. So,
motion to approve a retention stipend amount of $600 for all regular, certified, and support staff returning for the 25-26 school year.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Palmer,
Yes.
Yates,
Yes.
Pettit,
Yes.
Wallstad.
Yes, I'm glad we can do this. It's great. Item 10, discussion of possible action on a $200 back-to-school stipend for all BPS staff for the 2025-26 school year to be paid in August from the general fund.
So this is the one that you guys have done every year, and it does go to pretty much every staff member, lay coaches, hourly, everybody gets the $200 back-to-school stipend, and I remembered to get it on the June board meeting this time, so we'll be ready for school.
I make a motion to approve the $200 back-to-school stipend for all BPS staff for the 2025-2026 school year to be paid in August.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Palmer,
Yes.
Yates,
Yes.
Pettit,
Yes.
Wallstad.
Yes. Item number 11, discussion of possible action to approve giving the superintendent and/or the chief financial officer the authority to discard or sell unusable equipment and items for fiscal year 26.
Motion to approve giving the CFO and superintendent the authority to discard or sell unusable equipment for the fiscal year 26.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Palmer,
Yes.
Yates,
Yes.
Pettit,
Yes.
Wallstad.
Yes. Item 12, discussion of possible action to approve converting the school calendar from days to hours per House Bill 1864. Senate Bill, or is it Senate Bill, what is it?
Yep.
Senate Bill, isn't it?
Senate
Yeah.
bill. Mhm.
441 for fiscal year 26.
So this is an accreditation item that we do every year. It basically allows us to count hours instead of days. Comes in handy when we have snow days or things like that, when we're doing those calculations throughout the year. So, and this is what I think most everyone uses.
Motion to approve converting the school calendar from days to hours for the fiscal year 2026.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Palmer,
Yes.
Yates,
Yes.
Pettit,
Yes.
Wallstad.
Yes. Item 14. 13, did I skip one?
Yep, 13.
Big book.
Motion to approve the updated policy manual for the 2025-26 school year as of July 1st, 2025.
So the big book you have in front of you is the new policy book. It's a collection of all of the policies that you've been given across the board meetings throughout the year. Our principals have read every line, and I have read every line of this book. And we are glad to see it all put together for once, but we will be getting a digital copy of it, but this is what they've had prepared for us for now. And so we're excited to have that behind us and ready to move forward with it, but this is just the collection of all the things you've seen all year.
Thank you for the personal copy. I don't know that I've seen a binder that large.
Yeah. Good luck finding space for it.
Motion to approve the updated policy manual for 25-26 school year starting on July 1st, 2025.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Palmer,
Yes.
Yates,
Yes.
Pettit,
Yes.
Wallstad.
Yes. Item 14, discussion and possible action to approve the revisions to the 2025-26 parent and student handbooks for Bethany High School, Bethany Middle School, and Bethany Elementary School.
So on this, you'll have copies of those you can look at really quickly. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. There should be changes in their highlight or red letters. Some of the changes are specific to the changes in our policy book. Some of the changes are specific to new laws that have been passed. So if you have any questions about any of the things specifically in one of the books, you can certainly ask. I'll make note just for you. One of the changes will be cell phone policy. That will take effect next year, specifically at the high school. The elementary and middle school really will operate much the same because they were already kind of under that new law of bell-to-bell, no cell phones. The high school will be the biggest adjustment, but the plan is that they'll just utilize what kids were used to in middle school, and has worked really, really well with middle school up to this point. But it is a bell-to-bell cell phone ban, which and actually other devices as well. Our plan with smartwatches, because that is included, is we're not going to be going up to kids and saying, is that a smartwatch or not? We're going to go based on if it becomes a distraction or we notice kids are texting or doing things on it, that's when we'll ask the question, which again has worked well in the middle school. But otherwise, from bell to bell, the cell phone should be put away and not utilized. There are
But they're keeping them?
they can keep them on their person. And again, so our stance will be as long as we don't see it and it doesn't become an issue, then it's fine. And certainly they can have them on. That's not part of the law to not be able to bring them. It's just they're not allowed to utilize them. So, and that includes lunch, passing periods, all the times bell to bell. So
On campus.
on campus, correct? Yeah, that's correct.
On campus?
when they're here.
When
They-
they're in the building.
They go off
Yeah.
campus for lunch, they can use
Yeah,
it, so.
when they get in their car, they
That's
can
right,
use it. Yeah.
that's right.
Are you gonna train them on that? How's that gonna work?
In what way do you mean? Like,
I mean, are you gonna go over the rules at the beginning?
yes, so,
and all
so
that?
it'll be in the handbook, so when the principals go over the handbook policies, they will make sure they know that, and that'll be a big one, obviously, particularly for the high school. The good thing about it is, all of these kids, unless they weren't here in middle school, utilize that policy in elementary and middle school.
Okay.
So it will be really easy to say, remember how it worked in middle school, this is how it's gonna work now for everyone. But we will remind them of that, and it will be in the handbook for them and their parents and it'll be a point of communication as well, as we move forward, because it is new, and we know that for some kids, it'll be a drastic change,
Right.
so we wanna make sure they're prepared to be successful with that. And we do have, within that policy, you'll see, just like the middle school has done, there are levels of warnings and consequences that
Yeah,
take place.
exactly.
That includes signatures and parent signatures, so that a parent's not gonna be surprised by consequences as they come later on, not knowing that their kid had problems with cell phones leading up to that. So at the very lowest level, they'll get a warning, but they gotta sign, okay, we realize our kid got caught, we need to have a conversation. Even the second time, it's pretty minimal. When you start getting the third time, it gets a little more drastic, so. But middle school has said, Ms. Donnelly has said, it's rarely been an issue to get to the third time. Usually it's taken care of the first
Yeah.
time. Any other drastic changes that you guys would want to point out, or just based on questions?
I think one of our biggest one is the attendance. We went back to the exemption policy, we went back to before COVID. The 3 days of absences instead of 5, and that's kind of come from parent committee that he has met with. They're kind of asking for that back. What we had was kids just saving those days up, and then they'd miss the whole last week of school right before Christmas, or right here at the end. And so we're gonna try to rein that back in and go back to 3 days of absences.
Yeah, good point. Also grades, it'll be attendance and grades, correct?
Attendance and grades,
Yeah, so 3 if you have an A, 2 if you have a B,
B, 3,
1 if you have a C.
one if you
Which I think we changed that due to some COVID things, but I think we're ready to kind of get back on track with that.
Any questions?
What's the change on directory information? Is that a statute?
Yeah, that is based on our new policy book.
Okay.
And we like the way it is now. Some of those things are things you might see on like an athletics directory where it has weight and height. That's because of athletics. They'll put that in there. But it's based on our new policy book and what they have for directory information.
I make a motion to approve the revisions to the 2025-2026 parent and student handbooks for Bethany High School, Bethany Middle School, and Bethany Elementary School.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Palmer,
Yes.
Yates,
Yes.
Pettit,
Yes.
Wallstad.
Yes. Item 15, discussion about adding purple street signs around the block of Bethany Public Schools.
So there's a picture there that you should be able to click on, and you can see the idea. Unfortunately, the person who initially had this idea is not here tonight. That was Mr. Jaggers. And it was just a thought that he had and shared with me, and I thought, yeah, that sounds cool. And so you can see there, the idea is around our campus, our one block, to have purple signs with our Bethany logo on them. And so we took that idea to the city. They had a committee that met first, and we met with them and talked through the idea. And then the city council that committee then took it to the city council, and they approved what you can see there. So now we're working with their vendors that normally do street signs. I will say we're appreciative of the city for being willing to do that. Again, it's not a major thing, but it's just a cool thing. When you're around Bethany Public Schools, you're gonna see purple street signs, and that'll be the four
love it.
corners, but then all the intersections in between as well. So if
Mhm.
you're driving in a car line or around us, you're gonna see purple with our logo. And so now it will be at our expense for the new street signs, but
Sure.
I think it'll be a cool little thing. So
Do you have any idea yet on the cost?
we don't yet. Mr. Mont we just got the vendor from the city. There's two vendors they use, so we just got that 2 days ago, and Mr. Mont is gonna be looking into that. So we will certainly let you know when we find out how much. It'll probably be more expensive than you would think those signs would be, as we've learned with any signs that we order, but I don't think it'll be unreasonable.
Do we have a, what logo are we using? I know we have a couple of different logos.
Yeah, the one you see there,
Is that
it's the traditional
horseshoe?
Traditional horseshoe.
Just like
logo.
what's on the digital sign there, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's not an item to
Yep.
vote on. It's
It's
just
not an
informational. Yeah.
I
And you'll just approve that through a PO down the
Yeah.
road.
Yep.
Yeah.
Item 16, proposed executive session to consider the student transfer denials, appeals of students A and B with a review of confidential educational records and transfer requests of students whereby disclosure of any additional information could potentially violate the Family Educational Right to Privacy Act, 25 OS Section 307B7.
Motion to go into executive session.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Palmer,
Yes.
Yates,
Yes.
Pettit,
Yes.
Lawson.
Yes. Yeah, now
Mine's kind
16.
of pausing. It was 7:05 to 7:30.
His isn't refreshing with the new time.
Reflect that the board voted to enter into executive session at 7:05 and exited executive session at 7:29. The board discussed only agenda item number 16, transfer appeals. No votes or action were taken.
Make a motion to uphold the decision of the superintendent to deny transfer of student A and B for 2025-26 school year.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Palmer,
Yes.
Yates,
Yes.
Pettit,
Yes.
Wallstep.
Yes. Item 17, proposed executive session to discuss the employment, hiring, appointment, promotion, disciplining, or resignation of an employee as listed in addendum A, B, and C as authorized by 25 OS and 307B1.
Motion to go into executive session.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Palmer,
Yes.
Yates,
Yes.
Pettit, Wallstep.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, let the record reflect, the board voted to enter into executive session at 7:31 PM and exited executive session at 7:52 PM. The board discussed only agenda item 17, employment of personnel amendments, A, B, and C. No votes or actions were taken. Scroll down here. Item 17D, discussion of possible action on the employment of personnel in Addendum A for the 2025-26 school year as authorized by 25 OS Section 307B1.
Motion to approve the employment of personnel in Addendum A for the 25-26 school year as authorized by 25 OS Section 307B1.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Palmer,
Yes.
Yates,
Yes.
Pettit,
Yes.
Wallstad.
Yes. Item E. Discussion of possible action, board action on the resignations of employees in an Addendum B for the 2025-26 school year as authorized by 25 OS Section 307B1.
Motion to approve the resignations in Addendum B for the 25-26 school year as authorized by 25 OS Section 307B1.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Palmer,
Yes.
Yates,
Yes.
Pettit,
Yes.
Wallstad.
Yes. Item 17F, discussion and possible action on the employment of personnel in Addendum C for the 25-26 school year as authorized by 25 OS Section 307B1.
Motion to approve the employment of personnel in Addendum C for the 25-26 school year as authorized by 25 OS Section 307B1.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Palmer,
Yes.
Yates,
Yes.
Pettit,
Yes.
Wallstad.
Yes. Item 18, information items.
Yes, so our first board meeting of the new school year will be August 12th. We'll also have a new teacher orientation August 7th. We're looking forward to welcoming our new staff members. Teachers will be back August 11th for some PD days, and then first day of school will be August 14th.
Item 19, board member comments. Anyone have anything to go to the order? Nothing?
I'd like to thank Dr. Jasper for her work.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate you. You've done a lot to bring us into this century and this decade. Decade and century.
And century.
But I do appreciate all your work.
Thank you.
Definitely. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Angela.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you. Item 19, superintendent report.
All right, I would like to thank the business office staff for their efforts in closing out the year and preparing us for the new year. Mrs. Massey, Ms. Kirkendall, Mrs. Kirkpatrick, Mrs. Lloyd, and Dr. Jasper have been working very busily through June to get us ready, and I appreciate their work during this hectic time of year. I also want to thank Dr. Jasper, our CFO, and this board for the position that you continue to put us in financially. As you heard tonight, our district is operating effectively and efficiently and has the ability to meet both current needs and future needs with the decisions that have been made up to this point. So I appreciate everyone's cooperation and work on that. I also appreciate Dr. Jasper's willingness to carry the work forward as she has begun at BPS and in a consultancy role, and I know she'll continue to be an amazing asset for our district. Want to thank our teachers, coaches, sponsors, all who are providing students with opportunities for our athletes and our students for summer opportunities. We've had summer school, athletic camps, STEM camps, and Bronco Iron, among other things. And the working with students doesn't stop during the summer, and we appreciate all those people who give up that time of rest to continue working with our students and student athletes. And want to thank our principals for taking time as they are getting ready for the new school year and focusing on instruction and student learning and really thinking about things that they can do in this new school year with our teachers collaboratively to enhance instruction that we provide. I've been able to see them interact with each other and with teachers, and there's a real excitement going into the school year as it relates specifically to instruction and learning of our students. And finally, I'm grateful for our staff and look forward to rewarding all of our dedicated employees who strive to make things better in Bethany year after year. And I'm glad that they're going to be able to receive a little bit of a summer surprise as a result of that. So thank you everyone out there for all that you do for Bethany and for Bethany students. That's my report.
Thank you, Dr. Bellows. Item 21, adjournment. We are adjourned.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Anything to sign? Anything to
Yep,
write?
I got lots of stuff to sign.
And you get to sign it.
Sorry. I'll come over here, Mr. Wilson.